morning, or this is to do with my solar and battery backup. So if you don't like this on my channel and you're here for the EVs only, then watch it and get educated maybe. If you're thinking about having solar, this might be very informative for you. If you're thinking about having batteries alone, then yeah, you might learn something with this one. Let's have a wee chat about how my system is doing now in the early depths of cold winter. Well, it's a real cold day today. Has been cold all week, to be fair. Sitting in the summer house, my studio, as I like to call it, as you all well know by now. You see a red glow behind me? Yeah? Well, let me show you what that thing is. Yep, it's that there, look. I did a review on one of those things. Yeah, if you want to see how good they are. Now, I've been told that G-Tech have actually stopped selling them. I mean, you can see the red glow they give off, look, even on my face, I bet you can see. And there's some hellish heat coming off it. We only put it on for a short term, and then, you know, then we go back to the old favourite little 2 kilowatt thing down there. Now you're going to think, KK, you are using some power. Yeah, but it's all coming off my batteries. This one's just a little ditty to tell you how the solar's working in these colder months. I thought I'd put a little electric one together for you, just to show you how my batteries are working. I've got 3 5.2, just under 5.2 kilowatt hour Fox batteries. 16, I just class it as 15, and that extra bit, well, you lose anyway, you know, whatever. Got 3 out there, as you well know if you've been watching this channel, and my solar energy journey. This time of year, people seem to think your solar does nothing. Oh, they're wrong. Now, it still aids to either one, charging the batteries as that bit of sun comes out on a winter's day, or even when the sun's not out. You know, say it's a pretty dull day and it's raining, I still get energy from my solar panels. A lot of people seem to think that it needs to be dead sunny and bright. Well, that's just wrong. Don't look at it like that. And I'll tell you for why. I've actually noticed that I get somewhere in the region between, I don't know, let's say it's midday on a cold day like today, but no direct sunshine. I can still see around 200 to sometimes 650 watts coming in from my solar panels. Here's what happens on a very dull day. 140 watts from the solar coming in, 120 watts being used on the load, 13 watts from the battery, discharging of course, and approximately 10 watts from the grid. So that gives you an idea of what's actually used on a very dull day. Now, I've got a big, nice, lovely digital readout on my inverter, and that tells you what energy you've got coming in and, you know, where it's going. And I know for sure that when the house is taking, on average, I've got a pond pump, I've got a fridge freezer on, I've got little bits and bobs on standby, obviously. And when we're in this studio, summer house, we ain't using a great deal in the house. So it kind of tops out at around 160 watts at the most. That's including the pond pump. Sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes it only draws 120 watts. But that's the whole house running as it is, you know, on a daily basis. I've noticed I get about an 11 to 15 to maybe 18 top draw from the grid. And then what happens is I normally get enough on a dull day even coming in from my solar to cover that 120 to 180 watts per hour to run the house. So even on dull days in the winter, if I don't have anything on that's energy, you know, like this thing here, don't get me wrong, that's you know, 2 kilowatt hour. But if I've not got that on, and I've got my batteries are topped up, and they don't need any charge up going to them, my solar on a dull day is probably still running what I'm using in the house. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to get an electricity bill. I've got to say that I'm going to get electricity bills in the winter the way I've got this system set up. Don't forget, I've got 2 EVs sitting out there, and this week we've charged them both up. I charged one up from around 30% to 100, which I did last night, again on 7p, and the other one got charged up during the day, the wife's Aura 3, smaller battery, but that still took around 29 kilowatt hour into the battery. So yeah, it's a fair bit of energy consumed into my 2 EVs. Now, there is no way in the world that those 2 EVs have now been fully charged from sunshine. It doesn't work quite like that in the winter. But I know for sure at least 10 kilowatt of that power that's now in my batteries came from my 3 Fox batteries in the hallway there. Now I know that because, again, you look at the app on the Fox EES app and you can see straight away where your energy is coming from and where it's going. And when I'm putting 7 point whatever kilowatt hour into these electric cars, it shows me that the battery is probably sending around 4 or 5 kilowatt of that power out to the car. So, or should I say, into the system. In the winter on a dull day, I still get power stroke energy from my solar panels. Now, if I just pop you around here through them horrible steamy windows, it looks quite bright today. And in fact, let me just show you the fact that, yes, the sun, there's a blue sky there, a little bit of blue haze, is coming out. Now on a bright day like today, I know my solar can make me as much as 2.5, nearly 3 kilowatt hour coming in if the sun's at the right place at the right time, and today's going to be one of those days, I think. So I know what I'm using here at the back on this thing here. It looks orange, but I tell you what, it's more of a red. This thing here and the one on the floor, sitting in this summer house keeping nice and warm. In fact, it's getting too hot in here. I'm going to have to turn that down and off in a minute. It's going to be eventually paid for from what I'm making on my solar. If this is on for 30 minutes just to get this place back up to a nice temperature, and that little white one on the floor comes on now and again for 10 minutes here and there, we can sit in here all day on a bright sunny day and know that it's really not costing us a penny to run these things because the solar's seeing to that. Everything in here is A+ rated. You know, we've gone out of his way to do that. Even my tumble dryer is a heat pump based tumble dryer. So, you know, we've really looked into it and we've really cut down to a minimum, but we still use electricity like anybody else. So without the solar and without the batteries, yes, my electricity bill would be the norm for a 2-bed bungalow. I wouldn't be any less or any more than anybody else. But I know for sure with the battery storage and the solar that does its job even in the winter, because don't forget I've got 13 panels on that roof, you know, and they're 485 watt per panel. So, yeah, you know, you do draw in a fair bit of power, even on a not so sunny day. Now, in the summer, the back end of summer, on a real nice warm day, I was dragging in 6.2, 6.3 kilowatt hour from my solar into my inverter. Luckily, it's a 7 kilowatt hour inverter, and it was doing a great job. It was charging up those batteries, and then when the batteries were charged up, I was sending it to the grid, making money. So this brings me on to my next thing. What do I send back to the grid in the winter? Well, that's an easy answer. It's virtually zero. Because, obviously, like I just said, what I'm actually creating from my solar and my batteries, I'm using during the day. And this is what brings me back to something I should have said in the last bit of the video. My batteries, if they do not get charged by the sun during the day in the winter, and they do get a bit of a trickle, don't get me wrong, like I say, on a nice day like today, I know if my batteries needed it, they would be getting topped up on top of what we're using in the house. No doubt about it. I'd be pulling 2.5 to 3 kilowatt hour from my solar. Okay, this next one, you can actually see it moving in the green lights there, what direction they're going. This is when the sun actually came out, although it was partially cloudy sometimes, and the solar did pop out more than 3.46 as shown there. Batteries taking the majority of that charge to get them back to 100%. Now, let's say I'm not pulling anything from the solar panels, and the solar panels are only pulling in 150, 200 watts, which is just about running the house, okay, in theory. My batteries will get charged at night time on Octopus's 7 pence per kilowatt hour rate. So what I do, as I said before, I use my batteries up to about 8:30, 9 o'clock. By then they're depleted down to about 15%, because I know at night time they're going to be recharged again at 7 pence. Okay, this one is around 9 o'clock. Heating's just gone off, obviously, with only 300 watt load. This is the TV on and everything else and a load of lights. But just to show you that the batteries are still discharging until a certain time. And then at night time, after 11:30, they'll charge back up at 7 pence per kilowatt hour. So that will then run my heat pump from 3:30 in the afternoon, pretty much all the way until 9 o'clock, 8:30 when it goes off. We don't have it on at night, no need to, it stays warm in the bungalow. That's what's happening. Night time, when my batteries are depleted, they're getting charged at 7 pence. And then we use the power, which should be 28 pence during the day, out of those batteries, either to 1, run the house, 2, run the heat pump, or 3, add them into the car. So this is the way you keep your bills down in the winter when you've got solar with the beautiful added battery storage. Because without the battery storage, you cannot save as much money in the winter. Because you can't enjoy that 7 pence nightly rate that you'd get from Octopus Intelligent, you know, and use it to your own capability during the day. You've got nowhere to store it, so that 7 pence becomes 7 pence during the day as well. Hopefully that makes you understand why I had the batteries, and I would push anybody that if you're going to have solar fitted, budget for your batteries as well. Now, if you can't afford 3 like I've got, just have 2 or just 1 5 kilowatt hour battery. It's a start, you know, it gets you off on the right footing. If you can afford 1 or 2 more a year down the road or 2 years down the road because of your big savings you've made off your solar in the summer, or you've been sending it back to the grid and made some money, then invest in another battery. I would like 1 more so I can just get it just over that 20 kilowatt hour. But we've pretty much decided that I'm not going to. Now you may ask, well, why don't you, KK? Why not have another battery? Because these batteries are not cheap. Can I make that quite clear? Some companies are offering batteries that I've got here, the Fox type, more than I paid for my last one. The last one I got a bit of a deal through my installer because I'd spent 11k with them anyway on all of my solar, the fitting and the 2 original batteries. Now I've got 3, I think 3's enough for us here in this smaller bungalow. If I had an extra bedroom, if it was a 2-story house, then yes, I would love another battery. I would love to take it just over that 20 kilowatt hour storage. But I feel with this small bungalow that we live in now, there is no need to have any more than 15 kilowatt hour storage. I think it's working out pretty good. Now look, I'm actually giving back, oh, just changed again. I actually give back to the grid then 133 watts, but now I'm using 325 watts in the house. So now this is how sunny it is out here, look. So yeah, definitely, the sun's just come up this side. Solar panels are obviously, as you know, here. So they're just starting to get a bit of sun from over here. So boom, now when the sun comes around a bit more, that's when they'll create more. So already on this winter day, cold as it is, but bright, I'm making a bit in from my solar. Dark in here, isn't it? There you go. So now, what we got here, just spin you around again. Yep, 222 watts being sent back to the grid. That's beautiful. Now what you're seeing now with the wattage going up and down as I show you the screen is because, don't forget, in the summer house I had a 2 kilowatt heater on and I'm charging my batteries as well. So the inverter's, you know, turning things around to suit the best it can with what wattage is coming in. So this is why you see it changing all the time from sending back to the grid to as low as what I'm using there at 21 watts. So hope you get that. Now as I pull you up to the inverter screen, you'll see it change from look 4,000 watt, you know, down to 2.7 or something of that region. That's because there's a bit of cloud cover, but that's what the kind of power my solar panels are making at that time. Sorry for the blurriness. It works well. Now as you can see, my batteries are not fully charged. So last night, although I'm on the 7 pence, they weren't fully charged by the end of the cheap period. They will now get charged up by the solar during the day on this lovely bright summer's day if I'm not using a lot of energy. Bonus times. So hope you get the drift of that and how it works. But it's great to see him going back to the grid on a winter's day. Mine can only do it on a certain time because of what we use here and charging EVs and charging up 3 batteries and whatever. So there you go. I had to stop filming then because that got a bit warm. I've had to turn it off, and I've got a ball cap on and a very heavy Tommy sweatshirt, but wow, it got too warm. So it's a great heater. Just I don't understand why he stopped selling them. For the money I paid for it, it's great. And I've also got one in the repair shop. Anyway, let's get back to where I was regarding the cost. Now, what Octopus Energy do is that they give me an average of what it's costing me for my day rate, because what they do, they split what you're using and bringing into the bungalow, to your house, your apartment, whatever. And obviously you've got a day rate of 28 point blah blah, and you've got a night rate of 7p including VAT. Now, my bill, and in February when I do a revamp of this and a complete proper full review, I'll show you the couple of winter bills, and you will see on them that my kilowatt hour cost on average is down to about 14 pence. So that's what they do. That's the way that they bill it out to you. And I don't mind them doing that, because then it tells, not only will you find out how much you're using, but it gives you an average of what you're actually paying per kilowatt hour over a 24-hour period, instead of just the night rate or the day rate. Because we do use a lot of the 7 pence night rate. We actually have our dishwasher and washing machine set to come on at 1 o'clock, and they're on for about an hour and a half. So they get the cheap 7p rate. Also, of course, like I said, I've got the 2 EVs. The odd time during the day when I've got a load of my batteries are full and I don't mind paying the rate of 28p if there's no direct good sunshine, I'll put the EVs on charge during the day. I'm not too bothered, because like I say, our bills are not massive here. But I mainly charge the EVs at night on the 7p. So you can imagine the massive savings. So for 7 pence with the EVs, and if you've got an electric car you'll know this, especially in the spring and summer on the warmer months, I'm getting like 4 mile average for 7 pence. Do the maths, you know, and I've said this before many times on the channel. If you've got solar and battery backup, you need an electric car. And if you haven't got an EV, but you've got those two, I think you're foolish, absolutely foolish. Especially if you're getting the cheap rate at night on Intelligent. Get yourself an electric car, because you are so much losing out and still paying them big oil barons massive amount of profit to run your fossil fuel car. So get it done. If you're watching this and you haven't got an EV but you've got solar and battery backup, wow, get it motivated, get it moved. And I know some of you are stick in the mud, you know, and you don't like change and you don't want to get on the EV bandwagon and whatever, but I really do think you're silly if you stay with fossil fuel cars, if you've invested in solar and battery storage. I really do. Anyway, so yes, it averages out to around 14p over the 24 hours for every kilowatt hour I use in the bungalow and my cars, etc, etc. So I'm very happy with that. Obviously it's far better in the spring, far better in the summer, and not too bad either in the autumn months. I stopped earning and my system stopped giving to the grid quite abruptly mid to late September. I think it was September 26, all of a sudden it dropped off a cliff. From giving it a tiny bit to boom, nothing. And I found it weird how it did that. Now I was messing about with the app and trying to set my batteries up to do what they're doing now, because that's what I wanted it to happen in the winter months, i.e. charge them at night at 7p, use them during the day to use my heating. I don't know if I did something a bit silly there or adjusted something wrong, but it fell off a cliff. So I've not made anything from the grid since very late September. And I don't expect to get anything now until probably late March, when the sun's back up, you know, for a fair few hours and my system stops feeding back to the grid. So yeah, that's where we are, folks. Just a quick one. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm not going to go any deeper. I'm going to leave it at that. I've got a latte coming now with the wife. Bless her, she's just putting them together. So just thought I'd let you know on the solar and the battery and whatever, and how the bungalow's going power-wise. And it's good. It's very good. So far, so good. It's just a shame I ain't making a bit of money in the winter back to the grid. but there ain't many people that do. My God, you'd have to have solar both sides, south facing, and your roof would have to be choco, you know, to make and put any money back to the grid in the winter months. But anyway, that's it folks, thanks for watching. I'm out of here, I'm going to have a latte. Enjoy your weekend if you're on a Sunday or a Saturday watching this, and we will see you again. Catch you later, thanks for watching, subscribe, bye.